Hey guys, welcome to a With Friends episode of Unjuggle the Struggle. Today I've got one of my mentors. She's also known as the human sparkler, Tamra Andress. She is an international speaker, an 8-time best-selling author, top 1% podcast, market minister. Like there's nothing this girl doesn't do. She also has a publishing company. And I will tell you, one of my personal favorite things about her is just the way that she is wildly in love with words and the word. Tamra, thank you so much for being here today.
Yay, thank you. That was a great intro and not like too much. Sometimes people go down the rap sheet and I'm like, stop, hold up. I'm like, done. Don't talk about me. Let's talk about you who is listening. And so thank you, Brittany. I'm so grateful to be here. And it's so cool to see how this podcast is blessing people. And it's so like just connected to what God brought you through and continues to lead us through, right? Like we all have
Right.
a messy middle. I think we're all in a messy middle, regardless of where you're at in your timeline. We're living and therefore we're infallible and there's problems. We're not infallible, so
Mhm.
there's problems, you know?
Yep. And I love it. I mean, that's exactly where this podcast has been. Just for me, it's been a space where I can show up in that messy middle. And I've been so grateful for it. I don't know, listeners, you may or may not know this, but Tamra is actually the reason I started this podcast. Tamra encouraged
I
me.
didn't twist your arm, I promise.
You did twist my arm.
But you're so good at it.
But that really, I think it comes down to, that's one of those perfect examples of sometimes you need somebody who can reflect something beautiful back to you. And you just need that one person who believes in you. And Tamra, especially in that season for me, you were that person who believed that I could do something like this. And it, like you'd mentioned, it has blessed my life tenfold. And I know I hear weekly about all of the other blessings and the ripple effect, and that, to like that ripple, you were part of the beginning. So just thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. I love the
Oh,
humbling part of that. Like remembering when it touches someone else, you're like, oh my gosh, I forget when you release this out to the world. You're always hoping that people listen, but you forget about the impact that that has beyond just the listener. It's to everyone that they touch, everyone that they interact with. And so it really is this massive wave that can transpire. And we want people,
yeah.
especially with the concept of your podcast, we want people to not feel like they're stuck in their struggle, but that there's an opportunity to get out. And so that's what this represents to me, is that we get to unjuggle and we get to not stay in that place of chaos.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Speaking of chaos, because how we always start with these like With Friends episodes. So kind of the format we'll go through here is we're going to talk about like an area of your life right now that you're unjuggling. All right. There's a little bit of chaos maybe happening. And then we will talk about an area that you feel like, hey, I've unjuggled. I'm really strong in this space. And I would offer up this for anybody who's going through this and walking through this season. And then we'll end with, I always do the same thing with all of my With Friends guests. And we have a little bit of fun at the end with 3 things. So sound like a plan?
I'm ready for it. Let's go.
Okay. All right. So talking about some chaos. What is something in your life right now that you're like, tell us about this season that you're going in.
Absolutely. If you could have a view on where I'm sitting currently, it looks really put together. However, in my peripheral, I've got boxes and books and chaos happening because we're in the process of moving. And so it feels like that kind of in conjunction with lots of parts of my life. I feel like I'm just playing chess right now and moving things around until I'm in this space of safety again. Things have shifted in my marriage. Things have shifted in my timeline and my daily agenda. Things have shifted in the way I mother and the time dedicated to my mothering experience. I know some people are like, you're never off the clock as a mom, but I mean, like the real thick of like traveling and going to different things and constantly being
Mhm.
carpool mom and all that. As well as the fact that my businesses, I have 2 businesses, both a for-profit and a nonprofit. They've really transitioned and have moved into a new space of prioritization. So that feels like a lot. When I say all of that out loud, I'm like, oh gosh, that's a lot of moving pieces. However, I just feel like God's been really good in the timing of how all of that has kind of aligned. Some felt forced. Some felt like, here's the rug, I'm pulling it
Mm.
out so you don't have a choice but to maneuver and transition. But others have been a slow kind of undoing process, unjuggling process, if you will. So poke
Yep.
holes, Brittany, ask all the
Oh, I
questions you
will.
want. I'm an open book.
I will. You know, I will. Okay. So I think I'm going to hit like the first thing that kind of jumped out is obviously like all of these things are moving pieces.
Yeah.
And it's so funny, right? Funny, ironic,
Mhm.
hard, beautiful, all of the words where it's like, man, it just couldn't just be like one part of my life.
Right.
Huh?
No, no. Never. I really don't think it ever is. I think we can maybe disassociate, or we can try and put things into a box over here, and we'll deal with that at this hour, at this time, in this season. But this particular scenario feels very convoluted.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what's one of the things like specifically that's like coming up to like on your heart about one of the things that felt maybe forced in this season? Because
Mm,
you hit kind of those two like very
mhm.
distinctly. The felt forced, but then also like slow unraveling. And so I'm
Yeah.
just curious what that looks like again in your story, because we're never the only one.
Yeah. Well, we just had a book come out through our publishing house, Fit and Faith Press, and it's called Sacrificial Love. And it's about the husbands and wives tell all of the marriages they didn't say I do to. And my husband and I
Mm,
had pretty drastic marriage fallout about a decade ago, nearly. And we just had another one. And it was about mid year last year. And I just came face to face with the reality of his lack of vulnerability, him trying to carry the burden of being the provider and protector of the home, which I think a lot of men do carry that. But that's
mhm,
not their main role. Like, God gets to carry that role. And so there's a burden lift off if they're willing to surrender and ask for help and things like that. Well, it finally came to a head where he had no choice but to ask for help. He was in a white flag moment, which I reference in my first book, Always Becoming. And I had a really big choice. I mean, biblically, I had every reason to say bye. And yet the Lord had asked me to stay. And so here's the rug. It
mm,
gets literally ripped out. Here's your reality, Tamra. No longer is that your reality. And you can either choose to run, which would have been the easy thing to do, or you can choose to stay. And so in that staying, all of these other pieces that I mentioned, as far as business and mothering and being a wife and helping my husband and stewarding the home, really took on this whole new dynamic, because I was like 100% of my time had to be in places that it was maybe like 50 or 60%, because I had Gary's support, and Gary didn't have the ability in that time frame to help on any front. And so
mm,
it was me really recognizing, not necessarily playing mom and dad, because I don't think that that's ever a mother's role, but I did have to stand up and just shift my energy and my perspective on, what do I want my home to look like, and do I want my marriage to maintain? And so that book came out while we were in the middle of writing all of these chapters. And it's now like going to be one of those altar moments, those living sacrifice moments of saying, I stayed. I'm so glad I
mhm.
did. And he and I are in a better place, in a becoming place of saying, we're going to walk this out together. So that would be probably the pivotal piece of that unraveling everything else.
Yeah. No, so what are some of the other questions that come to mind? Because I think that, like, I know the way that questions have changed my life.
Sure.
I think that especially when we're in these moments of like downward spiral, it's so easy to sit in the spiral of the lies. So easy to like, oh my gosh, this is my reality. This stinks. This is not
Yeah.
what I signed up for.
Yeah.
Ugh. And we do that spiral. But I really think that what ends up being like the reverse corkscrew out of the dark hole are the questions that we decide to start asking ourselves.
That's so
So
good.
we can go down the path of like, you know, why me? That's
That's the
not an
question
effective
coming up in my
question.
mind. Yes. Why? Yep.
Yeah, like why me, right? So that's
Mhm.
but but does that really lead you down or does it lead you up?
Right.
So like what were some of the questions that led you up? You already said one of them. Like what do I want my
Yes.
home to look like?
Yeah. I think the additional question, because as you were processing and saying that, all why was definitely not necessarily the, well, yeah, why me, why us, why this situation, was really like all of November. Just imagine Tamara going down with the whys. And then all of December trying to come back up that corkscrew that you referenced,
Mm.
asking, well, okay, if I'm meant to stay, and I knew clearly, I heard from God that one word, stay. How was my next question? How do I stay? And then the next question was who? And it wasn't just who did I want to become in the process, but also who was this person that I thought I knew, and who is he really versus who has he projected himself to be? And then the third element of who was who do I want in my corner as the safe team that's going to be able to
Mhm.
walk alongside me in the coming through and out of this predicament. And so, how and then who are the two questions that come to mind.
Yeah. I think with how, that's a tough one, right?
Mhm.
Because especially when you're in it, trying to see like I don't know how I'm going to get to the other side. I know I'm supposed to, and I know I want to, like I know the desire is there. How do you unpack a how like that?
Yeah. Honestly, for me, I'm such a like a Post-it note doodler. I really like to see every part of my life. Like, how am I going to be an effective wife? That was predominantly an important question. But honestly, my mothering took precedence in that time because that was more important to me. Not because my husband isn't in the right place, but because of what the circumstances, they just needed all of my attention. And so it was, how do I do this effectively as a mother? What does my time allotments look like to be able to be fully
Mm,
present with my kids when I used to be able to go do a bunch of other things, and my husband really played a huge role in that. And then was my wifing, and then it was my businesses. And so to go through that and just really de I guess decompose in a good way, or
mhm.
digest also what had been created and what can be undone that didn't really ever need to be there in the first place. And so for me, it's like we can put these false expectations on ourselves. We can start working from a place of hustle, even if you didn't intend to. And I really speak to alignment all the time. But I was recognizing that parts of my career, there was pieces of me still striving, and I didn't have a strive in my body at that point. I didn't have any gumption to put in any energy besides wake up. The how was wake up, care for my kids, and get yourself through the day, and maybe take a shower, and then you can go
Yeah.
to bed. And so like there was hows that had to be done that were way more important than how do I run a company? How do I continue to turn profit? How do I keep these other events going on? How do I bring in new clients so that when this comes a season later, there's
Yeah.
still kind of cash flow coming in? And part of the who connected that how was my team at the time, which I'm so wildly thankful for, but also my community, the community that had been cultivated over the course of the last 8 years prior, who recognized something is awry in Tamra's life. And they did not ever have expectations on how I was supposed to show up. Those were self created expectations. And so the
Mm.
grace that I saw my community show up with, the patience that they had, the encouragement that they had, the unexpected text messages of prayer, or me coming up and being prompted in people's hearts, and then them calling or sending flowers or chocolate as that became a need in that time as well. Like, you just, until you really go through something that's public facing, because I at that point I'd been created into this public eye, positioned into this public space. I couldn't just disappear. And that was
Yeah.
what everything in my flesh wanted to do. And so that's why that how became a very critical question, because how do you do this when there's a lot of eyeballs on your life? And how do you honor your husband during that really well? Because at no point, whether I stayed or I left, and I know that there are surely circumstances that people are going to leave, and this isn't a stay married at all cost conversation, but for me, it was an obedient conversation. And that was what the Lord asked me to
Mhm.
do. So honoring him and honoring my children and my family was also really important in that time.
Yeah. Oh, that obedience piece.
Mhm.
Man, that's yeah. I think that obedience, especially in the valley,
Mhm.
right? Like that's when it's toughest, but that's also when that's also when it yields the best fruit.
Yes. Oh, yes, for sure. A part of that, I would say too, Brittany, is coming to mind that I didn't intend to talk about, but I think it's really important no matter maritally, business, passion, orientation, whatever it is that somebody is walking through as a struggle for themselves right now, and they're hearing this and they're relating it to something that they've walked through. This was a massive element for me that I think is probably the biggest learning lesson through all of it has been two parts. One, the power of humility, and two, the power of receiving, which then insinuates humility. And
Mm-hmm.
as someone who is really filled with joy, you mentioned my human sparkler tendency, which is a gift from God. Like that's not something that you can cultivate energetically on your own, day in and day out, maybe for a short spurt of time, but for my whole life, that's been something that has been brought out of me and recognized through me. But the receiving piece of saying, I need help, I need support, I need time, I need grace, and really understanding and asking myself, what are those things that I need to ask for so that people can rise to the occasion to help me? Because I think we have a hard time asking for help anyway, especially as women, especially as moms, right? Like we've got it. We can handle all the things. We can juggle this thing really well. Look at me. Look
Yep.
at this. But the humility and asking, even for the things that you wouldn't expect, like, can you just make dinner for me and my family tonight so that I don't have to? Can you just take my kids to school today because it's an hour out of my schedule and I just need to rest? I just need to go walk. Can you just come over and sit? Or can you just come be with me so I'm not alone? And it's like these things that sound kind of insignificant when our lives are running at a crazy pace and we don't want to inconvenience anyone. But I had
Correct.
to really take that accountability and that inventory in my own heart and my mind and my life. Tamara, what do you need? And being humble enough to ask for help. And then the other side of that, being willing to receive it. I'll tell you a specific example.
100%.
It was Christmas, and we were financially not in a place that I was able to really buy presents for my kids. Every penny mattered, and it was just not something I was able to do. And so one of my dear friends invited us over for dinner, and I didn't know that she was going to like give us a bunch of Christmas presents. And I had nothing to give in return. Okay, I could cry right now thinking about it because it
Oh,
was it was such a humbling moment because I love to give. I love presents. I love to spoil someone. And to see the way that she generously considered every little piece of my children's life as I was navigating this hard thing. Oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. And I was just bawling like a baby. And she kept saying, like, it's okay, it's okay. And I wasn't apologizing, which is what my body wanted to do and my mind wanted to do. And she was just like, this is because you're loved. This is because you're worthy. And I have no expectations on the other side of this. We just love you. And it was the best. It was the best Christmas moment, I would say, highlight of my December, just being in a receiving mode from a dear friend who loved me, who saw a need and actually rose to the occasion. Instead of even just giving me money, she did the shopping, right? Like, and that was
yes.
such a gift. And she even
Yeah.
gave us like an experience. And I say she, it was her husband and their family all at once. But even for her kids to sit there and witness someone else opening presents that they had gotten for them and they aren't receiving anything, my
Yeah.
heart, my mom heart in that moment for her children. I mean, that's just one story example of like, wow, the humility in receiving is so incredibly powerful. I'll never forget that.
It is. It is. Thank you for sharing that story. I know you brought tears to my eyes too. Yeah, I remember I had a moment at the end of last year too. We were both going through this whole like being willing to receive. And I had a moment. So when we were heading out to New York for the book launch, and I had some incredible women in our community. And I mean, I'm lucky enough, I live 4 houses away from these women. Um, and they showed up on my doorstep, and they had gone around and looked like I'm going to get emotional about it. They had gone around, and other women in the community, because our kids participate in sports and everything, and they had all signed this bottle of this customized like bottle of champagne that said congrats, and everybody had signed a card and they had signed the bottle, and it was like, just, I remember sitting like in my living room, and the wave of like, you, this, like someone would do this for you. Like they saw me going through this season of almost, I didn't even believe I was going to New York for a book launch. Like
Yeah.
that was, I didn't even believe it myself. But then to see people who love me just showing up for me in a way that I couldn't show up for myself. I wasn't willing to see myself in that, like, you are worthy, you are loved light. And how people want to pour into us. I mean, you think even the way our own hearts want to pour into others, that's yes, samesies. Like that's, we're all human. We all want to pour into each other, but it's that gift, and that it's a gift. That's what it is. It's that gift. It's that ability to actually receive. That I think, yeah, between we're going a million miles an hour, so we don't even realize that we've got someone who's extending a hand.
Yeah.
We can't even see it. We've got our
Yeah.
blinders on most of the time.
Yeah.
And then you absolutely hit on the being like asking for help. I mean, it's so tough. And I remember another time too, like after having babies, like I needed help. Even I think it was like
Great
cleaning my
example.
toilet,
Yes.
right? And it was like the last thing I wanted to ask my mother to do was to clean the toilet. But at the same time, I desperately needed help. And she shared with me, afterwards, it was like, hey, I want to do that for you. If it brings you joy, if it releases a burden on you, it actually brings me great joy to scrub your toilet, honey. And you're like,
oh, thank you. Yeah. I'll share another example that's coming to mind, Brittany. This morning, I had an opportunity of listening to a keynote that a potential new author of a book that's coming out gave. And it gave me like really deep context to what his book was really about. I knew he had lost a child, and I knew that there was like a grieving process that he was sharing about. But man, I was literally crying, just processing what he was walking through in a totally different element. Because if I was to describe what I have been walking through, it's grief, right? The struggle is I'm grieving, and yet I have abundant joy and gratitude and all of these things. And how does that look together? Because most people perceive she's strong, she's good, everything's fine, but also you're grieving. And what his book is about is what not to do when someone is grieving and what not to say when someone is grieving. And a lot of people immediately want to interject to say, I know how you feel, or I can't imagine what you're walking through, or time will heal all wounds. And you're thinking of this dad and his family, and he lost his child. No, time doesn't heal that. And for me, as I was processing it through my own marriage, time actually doesn't heal something that you've lost. It doesn't. And that you're going to forever grieve a portion of that, even though you can also have joy on the other side of it. And he will also have moments of memory, but he's never going to have his child back. And so while that's a drastically different example, there's symmetry in the fact that as someone who wants to listen to this, whether you're in the receiving mode or the giving mode, is there something that you can give that doesn't require you to really speak at all, but is going to speak through action and love in a way that your words would fall flat and potentially even harm and hurt that person? And so it's not a matter of you saying, I went through something so similar, here's my story, because that can be really agitating, but rather, hey, I'm going to drop off a DoorDash gift card, or I'm going to bring by food. One of the things that he mentioned was the amount of people that would come over to his house during this grieving process, and the amount of money that they spent on waters, like bottled waters, and the amount of time that they had to spend on cleaning up dishes after people left, because people would come over to eat. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. He's like, all I needed was someone to do a huge Costco run for me of like, here's a bag of chips and here's a water, but I'm not going to get up and go cook you a meal because you're coming over to talk to me about my grieving, you know? So I
Yeah.
thought, gosh, what a beautiful example. So just as people are thinking, gosh, what can I give in this season where someone might be walking through a really hard struggle or a grieving process? It's not always your words, and it's not always your time is an element of it, but what's the actual tangible thing that's going to help them through it? And for me, it was like that Christmas present, right? It
Yeah.
really meant so much more to me than anything could have in that moment, even though they fed me and they did a lot of other things too.
Yeah. Well, and then not and also too, like just recognizing how difficult it is to ask for things and also too, like sometimes, especially when we're in those seasons, like we don't even know what we need
Yes,
most.
that's it.
So
Yep.
like when someone's
And
like,
you're
what
embarrassed
can
to ask if you do. I need
yes.
someone to come clean my toilets, actually.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
wanna
You're like,
do that.
I don't wanna do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And
yeah,
so like if you could just like if you really
yeah,
truly care about the person on the other side of it, if you truly like out
yeah,
of love,
yeah,
if you find yourself, I think sitting there going like, well, I wish there was something I could do. I love
mhm,
that you bring that up. Like deeply love them,
yeah,
love up on them, like
yeah,
foresee their needs
mhm,
almost for them. And I
yeah,
think that even if you miss the mark, if the intention is there,
mhm,
like that's still going to bless
yeah.
in ways that it will be impactful, you
One
know?
of the authors and friends in our community who was also on my team, so
Yeah.
multifaceted, kind of role that she played in my life. One morning, I was just like, "I just want someone to shampoo my hair." Like, I was not getting my hair done, I wasn't getting my nails done. I literally, like, financially gave all of those things that used to be what seemingly normal for my rhythm
Yeah.
away to maintain what it is that our home had provided, and I remember her sending me a message and just said, my sister's open anytime next week. She had a salon in her house. I'm treating you to get your hair done. And I was just like, oh, crying mess, going, oh my gosh, someone's gonna shampoo my hair. Like,
I'm
just
so
the simple
excited.
things in life, like, can be so dynamic. And I felt like, I was still grieving, but I felt great in the
Mm,
grieving just because that
mhm.
day I was kind of just spoiled a little bit extra than what I would have done.
Yeah. So these unexpected, like I'm just hearing this theme of like these unexpected
Oh,
gifts that come out on the other side of these seasons.
yeah.
Like no one
Yeah.
signs up for these seasons. No one wants these seasons.
Mm-mm.
All of the things. And yet, like the unexpected gifts. What would be another like because you had mentioned some shifting additionally
Yeah.
that happened like from a motherhood standpoint, from a business
Yeah.
standpoint. What would you say was like another maybe unexpected gift
Mm.
that has happened on the other side of this, like, shifting season?
I think the way that my children perceive me changed. I think that, and they're little, like they're 10 and 11. For those of you who don't know my kiddos, I've got a son who's 11 and a daughter who's 10. When they saw that for a season, I became this one man show from a parenting perspective, I I think that I don't just think, I know that there was just a deeper level of love and respect and understanding of what I was walking through. I didn't hide my emotions from my kids during that time. There was times I would have, my sunglasses on and tears coming out of my eyes, and my son would just look at me and know. And he couldn't
Mm,
see my crying eyes, but he would just know, and he would pull down my glasses, and he would just be like, I'm here. What can I do to help?" As a 10 and 11-year-old, you don't want to put your kids pressure on them like that. But it wasn't pressure. It was an opportunity for them to become, because while you're walking through whatever struggle you're walking through, it's also your children's story. It's also a part
mhm,
of who they are becoming. And God knew that. God didn't say, "Oh, Tamara, you're exclusively going to go through this and you're going to hide your trauma and it's not going to affect your children and you guys are going to be good to go on the other side of this." He says, "No, this is your family story. And are you willing to be vulnerable enough with them to be able to hold space for it?" So sometimes I was just, "Mom is too tired. I'm not going to do that. Do you want to actually make me popcorn? Because I'm going to go upstairs and sit in bed and then we can watch a movie together," where I wasn't able to do some of the things that I usually would from an energetic perspective. And they had such grace. And so on the
yeah,
other side, seeing the love that they have and the understanding that they have and the okayness that I gave them to say, you don't have to have it put together perfectly all the time. And that's okay. I
yeah.
think that gave them a new idea for how they're going to go through hard times.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I even think about like, right? Like there's no better teacher. There's no better teacher than like actually walking alongside and inviting them to walk alongside with with you, like
Yeah.
in those things. And I agree. I even think like back to, when I busted my ankle.
Yeah.
Um and the way that, yeah, there was about there the first week was mom trying to keep it together.
Yep.
Mom trying to keep
Yep.
it together, mom trying to still do all of the things, mom like barely asking for
Totally.
help because like right, we do, like, I convinced myself I didn't want to be a burden. This was already going
Right.
to be more difficult on everybody. Why would I like why so I'm going to be as happy as I can.
Yeah.
I'm going to like not ask for anything unless I really need it. and and it wasn't until about a week after where, eventually we run ourselves into the ground.
Right.
That's what
The
I had
boiling
done.
point. For
Uh-huh.
sure.
Uh-huh. And yeah, and I was sitting at the top of the stairs because I had to go down, and going down and up the stairs is like it was, an act of
God.
Congress, like just to make it. And I'm sitting there and I'm holding my crutches, and my son comes right up alongside me and he's like, "Hey mom, you okay?" I'm like crying, sitting at the top of the stairs. And he's like, "Can I carry your crutches for you downstairs?" And you're like, "Yes. Thank you so much. That's exactly what I need." And I get down to the stairs and I'm still crying. He's like, "Okay, like, you okay, mom?" It's like, "No, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. This is really hard. Like I'm trying to say, but this is really hard. Mom wants to take care of you guys, and mom wants to get your backpack instead of screaming at you to get your backpack." Like,
Would
and
be so
and
much easier.
yes, yes, so much easier. And just the way that, yeah, it allowed, I saw this beautiful moment happen with my son where it was like he he felt needed.
Yeah.
He felt like he could fill that space. He felt he had purpose, like he could do. And you think about, like, I, to some degree, because of my own stubbornness, I'd been robbing him of that opportunity.
Right, that's so
And
true. Yeah,
yep,
same with our
and it was,
friends, same with our
yeah,
spouses. We that's a perfect way of saying it. We rob
yeah.
other people the opportunity to bless us and to become and fulfill that purpose that's in their life, their
Yep.
role, their intention, because we're prideful. Honestly, it comes down to pride. And
Yeah.
that's a hard pill to swallow too. I talk about receiving and humility. Well, it's the opposite. If you're not good at practicing humility, what are you? You're
Yeah, it's
prideful
prideful.
and your ego's in the way, and I can do this. And we're kind of trained up into that trauma cycle when we're
Yeah.
little, like, be a big girl, don't cry, no crying in baseball. If you've ever seen League or
Yeah.
Your Own, there's like all these little innuendos that are exposed to us, and we end up taking all of them as a part of our identity. We can do this as strong women, and that's just not true. And
It's
so
just
when
not
we
true.
get to that place of humility to say, no, we're actually made for connection, we're made for relationship, we're made
Mhm.
for that giving and that receiving. And I'll say this scientifically, we're literally designed as receivers, and yet we're the worst. We deflect everything from a receiving perspective. And so physically, the reason that I think so much of our identity crises at large, I'm getting really ethereal here, but I'm
Mhm.
dead serious, is that women aren't playing the role that women are meant to play, and men aren't playing the role that they're meant to play. And therefore, identity crises are breaking out everywhere. And so,
Everybody.
honestly, Brittany, I would say if I was to look at it through God's lens, um, I think he's writing the roles in my home in this hour. And really not just mine, but I think in at large, his children's roles. And he's letting us come back to the fact that you're not meant to wear the pants. You're not meant to be the end all be all. You're, like I said at the beginning, not meant to be mom and dad. Like, where is there the opportunity for us to receive as women, and for us to be
Mhm.
vulnerable enough to do it, not in a emotionally, inept way, but in
Yeah.
a, this is who I am and this is what I'm called to be and how I'm meant to operate. So I'm excited to see the other side and the fruit on the and the abundance on the other side, but also the blessing that it's going to be to not only my children, but I think my entire family, because they're used to seeing me
Yes.
operate in a certain way. And I've kind of thrown in the towel to say, I'm not going to do that anymore. And
Yeah.
it's very weird. It feels so out of body.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I mean, you're speaking my language. Just talk about exactly the season that I've been in the last several years. Like feeling that same tug of like
Yes.
something is off, something is off, something is off. And then, my own story of jumping out of corporate and that was so much more than or that was so little compared to all of the like pre-identity crisis that I had to put myself through,
Right.
and then the post-identity crisis, and absolutely the way that that has shifted. Like, yeah, God is at work in my own
Yes.
home too,
Yeah.
of like shifting the roles and the responsibilities, and
Totally.
really like asking us to use discernment, asking us to be disciplined,
Yeah.
obedient,
Yeah.
with like, hey, if I'm like showing you these glimpses and these opportunities and these blessings, when do you show up?
Mhm.
And, I know that those are conversations that we have in my own home
Yeah.
constantly. We've been having those for years. Uh-huh.
And I think
Yeah.
interestingly, and if I parallel it to this like move that we're going through, and I really truly believe that nothing in the natural is not also happening in the supernatural.
Yes.
So if something is going on in your life and you're like, whoa, seems bizarre. What is happening in the supernatural realm, the spiritual realm at large for this to be happening in my flesh? We went through a home renovation when I mentioned the decade ago trial that we walked through. We went through a home renovation and we knocked down all the walls in our house to make it an open floor plan. And within a year, this catastrophic event happens in our family, and there was nowhere to hide. There was nowhere to go. You literally were in the same room with the person that you're wanting to flee from. I was a fight or flighter. I was a flighter. My husband was a flighter. We
Yeah.
both wanted to run away, not run into, and we couldn't. And so as I recognize that now, and there's so many other layers to that, I'm in this big transition. I'm in this big move. And honestly, Brittany, I feel like all I want to do is like nest. Like I just want to like
Mm.
and clean and prepare and tend to and it's so weird because I had a cleaner in my house for years and years and years. I didn't want to nest. I'm like, you do that. You that away. But I'm literally like folding clothes in gratitude. And it's a practice for sure of just like these clothes are only going to be this big for so long. And I'm gonna miss
Mhm.
them in this stage. And my son, who literally throws every single thing away, and even when he only wears it for an hour, where my daughter never has clothes, and I'm like, does she even wear? Is she wearing the same underwear every day? I'm not really sure what's going on here. She has no laundry. So like you process through these things, and you just realize the blessings that are amidst you. And so as I'm transitioning and recognizing that, I'm like, man, that's what God is calling me to. Is like, yes, you're meant to feel these feelings and embrace them. Don't run from them, as I can run to work because I'm really good at it. I'm really good
Yeah.
at building. I'm really good at strategy and making money, and I can do those things, but I'm not called to it in this hour.
Mm.
And to
Yep.
have peace and contentment in my heart, that thing that for a decade was something I woke up to every morning, is not the thing I'm waking up to anymore. It's to my family, it's to my kids, it's to cook, it's to clean, it's to take them to school. I'm like, pinch me, is this my reality? Because it feels almost too good to be true and also really bizarre at the same time. I don't know that
Yeah.
I'm me yet in it. I don't know if my
Yeah.
identity is secure in it yet, but God's asking me to continually take my foot off the gas. And in active obedience, it's all I want to do is to honor him. And that takes humility
Mhm. It
and
does.
trust.
It does. And you hit on this, like this peace and this contentment. And even though like not knowing what's on the other side of this, or still there's still so many moving pieces, you're on the chessboard, you have
Yes.
no idea which piece like is gonna move
Yep.
next. Still, you can tell like one of the things that you've absolutely unjuggled in your life is like how to like sit with and be in this space of peace and contentment. How have you gotten to this point?
A lot of prayer. And I
Yeah.
above anything, like just the perspective piece, constantly coming back into perspective. Um, our times are so different than they ever have been. And while the Lord and the Bible says there's nothing new under the sun, I think that there's a lot of new pieces to the puzzle that other people never had to struggle with, such as, parenting with devices. My gosh, like our parents never had to deal with that, right? And so as I process some of these things and I put it into perspective of what's simply important, what is simply the thing that is going to be on my tombstone, I know how many businesses I built isn't going to be there. I know being an entrepreneur, I don't care. I
Mhm.
know my people will go to the why, like, what's your big why? That's not going to be on my tombstone. And
Yeah.
so what is going to be on my tombstone is a couple of roles that matter. My role as a daughter, as a child of God, as a wife, as a mom, prayerfully as a friend, a sister. And so as I lean in from a perspective point of what's most important today, it's always going to come back to the people that God has blessed me with in my life, and not a project and not a
Mm.
purpose, but a people. People are our purpose. And so
Yeah.
that's been an undoing in me.
Oh, fair. Yes. And I think that there's so many more souls, women in particular, like that are longing for that too. And that are like, they can tell that they're being tugged and they don't know what it looks like yet. And they don't know the how and they don't even know the why. But I love like it's the people, it's not the project. And it's those questions again that you're just like sitting there asking yourself, like, what is this? What is this all for?
Yeah.
Is a question I continue to ask myself. It's a question that's changed my life. Like, what is this really truly all for? And the more I ask that, like, watch out. Like he answers,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, and I think if you go to like the name of your podcast, Brittany, and Juggle the Struggle, while it's not necessarily forward facing, a lot of it comes back to pace, right?
Mhm.
Because it's a lot easier to juggle when you go slow than it
Yeah.
is for you to try and speed up and add more things to it. It's
Yeah.
actually take something away and go a little slower. Take something away and go a little slower. Take something away and go a little slower. And if I started talking a lot slower, people would be really uncomfortable with that. And they're going to want to put me to the 2x time speed because they don't know what to do with the open space. They don't
Mm.
know what to do with their brain if there's not something going on. They don't know what to do with their body if it's not being asked to work. And
Yeah.
so in all of this, it's been the reestablishment of rhythm, the reestablishment of rest, and ultimately the
Mhm.
reestablishment of identity. Again,
Yes.
I know these things. We're not human doings, we're human beings. I know
Yes.
all of this. It's literally in my first book that I wrote forever ago. And yet, God in this new era is reminding me again, and I'm here for it.
And I'm here for it. I love it. So in this, like I don't know if you did this on purpose or not, but I'm gonna reflect it back to you. So like you're the untapped, like just this peace in your identity. You've got a lot of P's for your peace, my friend.
Ooh,
You've got
okay.
prayer,
Mm.
perspective, people, and pace.
Let's go. I didn't, but I love alliteration.
Uh-huh. All for your peace, all of those things. So that was beautiful. Thank you so much. I
Mm.
love this. Anything else in regards to like really like tapping into that peace, that deep inner peace, and knowing that you want to share before we jump into the last three things that we do on the podcast? You did great.
No,
Love
I
it.
think the pace piece, just like in time, right, is just like really analyzing your time and
Mhm.
analyzing the why behind each of the things that are on your calendar. Like even today, I had a friend reach out and they were like, I can't meet today. I'm so sorry. I know you want to get this thing done, but God is telling me to take the week off. And like, who does that? Like, what? It's an act of obedience to create space for God to move. And we
Mm.
don't do it. If anything, we add, and then we're like, God, where are you? I can't hear you. I don't know what to do. I have no clarity. The number one thing I hear as a business coach forever. I have no clarity. Like that's because you're not taking time to let God download to you. You're trying to create something when he's the
Yes.
ultimate creator. So I just think pace is timing. It's okay
Yeah.
to slow down.
Slow down. Yeah, that's a testament in my own life too. I mean, my world started changing when I started when I started making 15 minutes for God. 15 minutes with God
Wow.
changed my life. Like, I mean,
So
yeah, crazy. Oh, so good. Okay, so the last three things for the podcast. So I
okay.
ask every single guest, like, what comes to mind when I say this, like this theme, okay, that I talk about often, quitting the things no longer serving you.
Oh, that sounds like a cup of tea and a hot fire. That sounds amazing. Quitting the things no longer I wanna quit. I remember the first time you told me about the concept of, like, you quitting, and I was like, "Oh my god, that sounds amazing." That is an invitation to me to live abundantly.
Mm.
If I quit, I'll get to live.
Ooh, so good. An invitation to live abundantly. Beautiful. I love asking that question and I love how different the answers are.
Mm.
It's
It'll be fun.
wonderful.
You need to do a compilation show of everybody's answers.
I do. I do. See, I love it. I love the idea. Okay. All right. And then the other thing, this is my favorite part. Okay.
Oh
So
gosh.
I have the guest before you
Uh-huh.
leave you a question. And
Oh,
then you are going to answer their question, and then you're going to leave the next guest a question. So the
cool.
last guest was Amanda Humberson. I talk about how she's one of the most authentic human beings I've ever met.
Ah,
Our episode was about being in the liminal space.
awesome.
And so by the end of our conversation, we were talking about how we don't make enough time to like laugh, like have
Ah,
belly laughs
that's
as adults. So
good.
her question for you was like, what moment in time makes you belly laugh?
Oh my gosh, a moment in time. I mean, I feel like my brain immediately went to the last time I belly laughed. Um, and so I'll just go there because
Go
I
for it.
think this is something we don't tend to enough. I was sitting in Mexico on our like veranda with me and my best friend Morgan, and it was the first time she ever tried eye patches on, like the morning patches. So we're having coffee, I'm working on my TEDx talk, we had their Bibles open, and I like look up and her eye patches are like way down her cheeks, like near her mouth. And I'm like, what is happening to your face? And it doesn't sound as funny as what I can visualize. We could not, we were crying. We were crying, laughing, and I had to get it on video. And it was just one of those moments of like, that is so simple. Like, there's nothing about that. But if we go back to my P's, people,
Yep.
perspective,
Yep.
pace, right?
Yes.
I was intentionally sitting in that moment and we weren't rushing off to go get ready to go do something different and we're in Mexico, we should go da 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 da. Da. We were just enjoying our morning coffee and it created
So
belly laughter space. And so I love this question. What moment in time creates, what did you say? What moment in time
what moment in time makes you belly laugh?
makes me
That
go,
was
that's
good.
one of them. That's one of them. But now I'm going to
Yep.
literally sit with that and think about it because I crave laughter. Laughter is
Yeah.
really a beautiful thing, a gift from the Lord.
It makes it fun. It means
Yeah.
it's a sign that we are having just like this
Yeah.
abundantly joyful, like fun experience, like
Sounds
life.
like my
I love it.
son. He makes me
Oh,
laugh
so
all
good. Okay, your turn. You can ask anything. I may know the next guest, but
the
you will not
Ah.
know. So you can ask any question you want. What question do you want to ask and leave for the next guest?
Hmm. Only because it's in my frame of mind right now, and we sort of alluded to it. What is gonna be written on your tombstone?
Mm, yeah.
and I think there's a variable here. I'm going to say it. What would be written on your tombstone today versus what will be written on the tombstone when you one day die? Like, what do you want it to say versus what would
Mhm.
it say today in truth, because that's
Yeah.
the focus and intention of where they should live their life.
So much so. So much so. And I normally have you answer that, but you already did.
Mm,
So thank you. And
you're so welcome.
I know that exercise alone, that was one of those powerful questions that changed my life too, where it was like really asking, oh my gosh. And it was a wake up moment and call where it was like, wait, what it would say today isn't what I want it to say, and sitting with that and then praying and really looking at my life and then creating space for it to be something different, for me to be
Completely.
intentional about it. Yeah,
Yep. That's
really
it. That
beautiful.
intentionality changes everything.
It does. It does. Tamara, thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. Can you please tell people like how they can get in touch with you? I know you have a weekly call. We've got an event
Yes.
coming up in November. Like, can you
Yes.
share with everyone, please?
Yes, I talked about people. I talked about like literally community is so vital. And so every single week we have something that's literally used as a mobilized church opportunity for entrepreneurs, leaders, visionaries. It's Wednesday at 12 o'clock Eastern. The link will be available to you guys to come. It's completely free. We've been hosting it for over 2.5 years now. And every single week you get to give and you get to practice receiving and asking for help, because I know leaders, you're the least likely to do so, but we make space intentionally to do so. And from that, every year we have an annual conference where all of those people who come throughout the year, and even those who don't and don't even know what it's about, they come to FounderCon. This year it will be hosted in Norfolk, Virginia, November 5th through the 7th. And we would love for you to come out. You can tune into the podcast, the Founder Collective podcast, if you're like, well, I want to hear what's happening before I get there. It is recorded as a podcast. And I have the Messenger Movement podcast, which is my personal one that I love so much. So hopefully people will tune in there and find out a little bit more about what I'm doing on a daily basis.
Yes, I love it. I will include all of the links to connect with you in the show notes. Tamara, my beautiful friend, my beautiful mentor, I love you. Thank you for the gift that you've been in my life. You've blessed me so many ways over and over again. And I just, I love you. I love you so very much. So thank you for
So
being here
proud of
today.
you. Thank you. I feel honored. Thank you.
Aw. Until next time, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening to today's episode. It means the world to me that you're here to ride in the struggle bus with me and that you're willing to consider different perspectives, tools, and techniques that just might provide a little bit of relief and get you one step closer to the abundance that is available and waiting for us all. I hope you take a moment to grant yourself some grace where you've been denying it, some love where you didn't realize maybe it was right in front of you, and some faith where you thought all was lost. If this episode had an impact on you, would you please share a comment with a review? I'd love to hear what landed for you, and it helps us get the word out to our fellow struggle bus riders. So please review what was impactful for you. Just know these episodes are a pure labor of love in a space where I'm growing alongside you. I'm evolving every day, and I look forward to all the ways and the things and the perspectives and opinions and choices that will change over the course of time in my own life, day to day. Until next time, just know that you are loved, you are divinely cared for, and in the struggle, the journey of this life really is beautiful. I'm glad that we're in it together. Cheers.